It's the SWP Disciple. So we're in a kind of like late evening at this point, or dusk approaching. Of course, we're kind of like in late spring. So the days are longer. We should have daylight until probably about 9 or so. And yeah, so that's why I'm here at about 8 p.m. just as the game 7 between Cleveland and Detroit is about to start. But I'm a bit behind the 8 ball as far as like my Sunday routine. So usually I sleep in. I stayed up, even by my standards, I stayed up really late last night, like through the entire night basically until about 7 a.m. But of course, Sunday, my big activity is to do nothing and recuperate and sleep. But I forgot that my cousin and his wife are having a baby like next month or July or so. And today was the baby shower. So I was just gonna punt it because it started at like noon. And my cousin, he did, to his credit, he did send me a text like about almost 2 weeks ago stating that it would be today. But I forgot about it, which for him, that's like a win. 2 years ago when I was out in Oregon, he let me know that his wedding, because he's a passport bro and his wife's from the Philippines, like her visa was about to expire, so he had kind of like a quickie marriage. And he's like, yeah, you coming to the wedding today? And I'm like, I should say quickie wedding. And I was like, I'm in Oregon. When did you plan on telling me? He's like, well, I'm telling you now. And I'm like, yeah, sorry, I can't make it. I'm 3,000 miles away. So anyway, he gave me plenty of notice this time. I was still about to punt it because by the time I got up, like I was in bed, but and up, but still in bed. And it was like 1:30 or so, and it started at noon. So I was like, all right, by the time I get to West Springfield, it'll be over. But my little niece, she texted me, and she's like, hey, uncle, are you coming down? And by this point, it was like 2:30 or so, or 2:15, 2:30, somewhere in there. And I was like, well, okay. I'm kind of her godfather, so like I had to go. So I actually got ready pretty quickly, as I had like taken a shower super late at like around 4 a.m. or so. So I was still fresh-ish. And I just headed over there, and actually we're all the better for it. I had a great time seeing some of my family. Now my cousin, the one that I'm like closest to, and his 2 sons had left already. Like they went down there, I guess, immediately after church, probably like 1:30 or so, and they'd already left. He's always on wheels. His wife always has him on wheels. But yeah, we had a good old time. My family from Connecticut was there, and we caught up, and I was there for, I don't know, probably, I'd say the better part of 90 minutes or so, which is plenty. Got some nice photos I'm about to put up on IG in a little bit. The other thing that came through is my cousin. So, my cousin who's having a baby, his wife is having a baby, his older brother, he's a contractor. He's like the family handyman too. And his 2016 Silverado is overheating and it's down. So, it's not drivable. So he's like, yo, Disciple, can I borrow your RAV4 or whatever? I didn't get it until a good while after he had texted me, because I was like still laying in bed or whatever, doing my routine. And I swapped after, well, I shouldn't say swapped, I lent him the vehicle. But of course it's a little cumbersome because he's in West Springfield, right near the park where it was at. I forget the name of the park. Maybe I'll put it in the description. Not that it matters. Really nice park though. I've been here for 34 years almost, and I don't think I've ever been there. But I guess that's where their wedding was 2 years ago. So nice full circle moment there. Anyway, it's not like he's at a midpoint. He's actually right near the park. So I had to like pick him up, a little chit chat with he and his wife and his daughter, catching up. I never see his wife and his daughter. That's a whole other story. And then drove back to Springfield to drop me off so I could, I'm driving the BMW right now. And then of course, as luck would have it, we stopped at Costco so I could get some relatively cheap gas on his card. Man, that place is like Fort Knox, their gas there. So I tried to like use his card and then just use my credit card to pay for it. But they recognized that like his membership card and my credit card are not owned by the same person. So then it immediately stops. I tried that like twice, and then the light bulb went off, like, oh, they're checking my ID essentially. So then, he paid for it because he's borrowing it anyway, right? So that works out. And then he dropped me back off. But as you might imagine, so I remember on First Things First one time, Kevin Wells was talking about this, about just how hard it is just to get stuff done. Like, you can have the day off, and all you're about to do is just go grocery shopping, wash the car, put some gas in it, maybe visit a friend across town, like, just day off stuff, a quick visit to the dentist, like an hour, or just basic stuff. And he's like, it's really hard to get stuff done. Just basic stuff takes like many hours, and dang it if he wasn't right. So I kind of had the clock, stopwatch, or whatever going, ticking off in my head. And I'm like, all right, so I'll be back home by 6 or so, or no, 5. I was thinking like 4:45 or 5, because by the time I got to the park, it was, I say about 3, because I got ready pretty quickly, and I got there pretty quickly. Park's only about not even 20 minutes away from me, like 15 minutes away from me or so. And yeah, by the time it was all said and done, fast forward to whenever, by the time I parked and went on this walk right now, it was already 7:30. So gym's already closed. I wanted to possibly go to Nordstrom's down in Connecticut, because I have to return something. I got this really nice Vuori jogger, large too. And not to sound weird or anything, I'm pretty sure my rear end is like freaking grown in size, and my quads and everything, but my weight's like the same, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But anyway, I did guess at the size. I hate trying on clothes, so I'll either have to return it and maybe get an extra large, or even a double X, which I don't think that's going to be very flattering. It's going to be kind of like too baggy, but I need the space in the thighs and the rear. Or I could just return it all together. I hadn't worn it. I bought it back in like March, and I've been kind of looking forward to it, like little stupid things that you do to get yourself motivated. I'm going to Texas to visit some friends, and also down there for a college friend's nephew's high school graduation. I think it's high school, yeah. We'll call him D. And down in Killeen, and then I'm gonna go to Austin, and then to Dallas, and then to Houston. So while I'm down there, I'm just gonna see a bunch of people, since I skipped my requisite Texas trip last summer. I usually go every year, once a year, at least once. And I was like, because you want pretty easy clothing for the airport, so you're not unbuckling belts and all that. They don't have you take shoes off anymore, but I'm just little things to get me going. I'm like, all right, so I got my my overpriced $120 joggers or whatever. I was looking forward to it, and I tried for whatever reason. Not for whatever reason, for a reason. I was gonna wear them to the baby shower, and I tried them on, and I'm like, geez Louise, these things are as tight as a mug. Tight to the point of not even being stylish, just tight. So I was like, I threw them on the bed, and then I had half a mind to just bring him back to Nordstrom's today, but I ran out of time, which is what I'm trying to say. So I guess I'll do that after work tomorrow, if I get a good jump after work, though I may have to go to the law office, so we'll see how that works out. So yeah, first world problems. So I guess I have $120 or whatever it is coming back on my card. Should still be returnable. It's only been 2 months, and they were never worn. The tags are still on them and stuff. But yeah, it was comical how tight they are, and it's a large too. You can see my calf muscle, which I'm not super opposed to that, but it was really more the rear end thing, which it kind of transitions from being athletic and sporty to kind of queer. So I'm like, all right, I guess I got to return them. And they're nice too. So if I feel like it, I'll get the next size up, but I don't know if the next size up is even going to be the right size. I may be compelled to use their changing room when I get there. But anyway, so looking forward to the game. I'm going to treat myself and get some Chinese food. So I broke that New Year's resolution. I accidentally broke another. I don't really count it. So I went to the Capleton, the fireman, some dancehall music. Friday night, I went to that concert with some friends, which is kind of weird. I saw a couple people that I know anyway, which I kind of knew I would. So it was kind of I was there solo in a sense, but not really. But anyway, my close friend, she was there with her BF. That's a weird situation. So it was supposed to be kind of a double date issue, and her friend bailed at literally the last moment, I found out earlier that day. Womp womp. Probably because she recognized what it could have been or what it was. And she's like, yeah, this cat's whack, so let me make up something, whatever. Actually, I didn't even get a reason. She's just she couldn't make it. And as it turns out, the number that I had for her 7 years ago, she changed it, which, I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with me. I think that's just, 7 years past or whatever. And sometimes people change their number, though it's kind of weird. I've had the same number for like 23 years. And the only reason why I changed it is because Verizon back in, I don't know, 2002, 2003, they had a hack. And then a friend of a friend got into my voicemail. And it's actually kind of funny, but like stupid. And was like spamming my voicemail with all kinds of like weird messages or whatever. So I like one of them including like, "Hi, I'm Disciple and I'm gay," which is it's funny in a haha sense, not funny in the sense that I had to change my number because back then, like, couldn't really expel somebody who hacked it. So my number is like a digit off from what it used to be, but still with Verizon too since like August of '99. No change. They should give me some kind of like lifetime like or career appreciation or relationship appreciation discount or something. But anyway, yeah, I no longer have her number. I probably could hit her up on IG, but I'll let that breathe for a bit because I don't want to make it seem like, I was expecting you to be there and blah, 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 whatever. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the biggest deal. I should just be happy that she follows me in my stories. But anyway, yeah, I'm getting my cardio in. This is my third lap. These, as you can tell, are like very long laps. I think these are more than like 400 meters. So this should be a good walk, probably like the better part of like 2 miles. Obviously not a replacement for my usual like hour on, like the elliptical or stationary bike or stair step or whatever, but certainly better than nothing. I might skip a little rope when I get home just to burn a few extra calories, but the game is starting right now. I'm gonna do like another lap, then order my food, and yeah, let it do what it do. Oh, sorry about that. She's very polite. But yeah, so what was I gonna say? I was saying something about the Capleton concert. My friend, so when you can sense that there's like an inflection point in something. So two things that I noticed, right? So I am a bit of a true anal retentive, and I noticed stuff. So I missed, like, usually at her mother's, we have a big gathering for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I skipped it this past year because I didn't want a whole bunch of people asking me like, "Oh, how's law school? What's going on?" Da da da. And in particular, one of her friends, who I think kind of likes me, but then maybe not. She's a judge actually, and like only like maybe a year or two older than me. I think 2 years older than me, but she's cute though, right? I mean, not that I know what am I doing with 47, 48-year-old woman anyway, but like she really took a kind of a shine to me last time that I was there. So not last year holiday season, but like, the end of 2024. And I knew that it was coming. And then she was also there with her mom. And her mom kind of took a liking, like really was like interested in like my law school journey. Of course, at that point, I'd only done like a semester. It was before I had finished like 1L. I just didn't want to be bothered with all that. And of course, my friend's mom, who I went to the concert with, was like, well, things happen. People always say something whenever they want you somewhere, not to like over like expand my role in things or whatever, but I do feel like I'm kind of like in a lot of ways, like the connective tissue of that group. So I can see it not quite being the same without me there, but that's not my intent. Things are just awkward right now. If I get into school for August, then, I'll be there at the end of the year. If not, then I'll probably have to skip it again. But, yeah, so anyway, it's a complicated situation because, like, I've known her for like almost 30 years, 29 years, right? 97 is when we met. When I started at the school that her mom was a counselor and a dean at and stuff. And I was already kind of like in the family, so to speak, because I went to high school with her cousin, who's a very close friend of mine. And then I'm also tight with her brother too. So I'm just all in there, except for where it matters in a lot of ways, right? So anyway, I think you know where this is going. So back in the day, I used to have a bit of a thing for her. I kind of publicly announced it, at least to her, 12 years ago or so, maybe 14 years ago. And I did all my due diligence, went by her brother. And then he was all, "I'm with it. As long as she's with it, I'm with it," or whatever type of thing. Of course, she was like, "Yeah, not interested, blah, blah, blah." Cool. So one thing her mom's always lamented is that she never brought like, boyfriends around the family or whatever. But apparently of course, the one holiday that I miss, I guess he was there. The only reason why I know it is because as she was like introducing me to him, call him D, not to be confused with the kid in Texas whose graduation party I'm going to, my friend's nephew, and she was saying to him, my friend, I know this is getting confusing, but this is the boyfriend. And then he had mentioned something like, "Oh, you're always at her mom's house for the holidays and stuff." And then he's like, "Oh, that's who I missed when I was there, whatever." So he kind of spilled the beans. She is such that she's like one of those people where she only gives information when asked, or if it's pertinent to what you're talking about. Otherwise, as you know, a lot of island women, they tend to be very secretive, sometimes with good reason or bad reason. So I could tell that she didn't necessarily want to say that. But in any event, they were more or less canoodling much of the night, like, holding hands and very close. It was weird for me to see her in that light. Now, I had a little bit of inside baseball, no pun intended, while I'm at the baseball field. A friend of, my ex, you remember from 2015, the physical therapist, ex-track athlete, they all went to school together. And she kind of, like, the whole idiom, is idiom the right word, or saying of, I don't believe what you say, I believe how you act, or however that goes, or don't tell me what you think, show me what you're going to do. You get what I'm saying. Judge people's actions, not so much what they say, because people will tell you anything. And she kind of puts out like this unaffected, like, the saying that a lot of women have now, and some act it out and then some will just say it like a man's the easiest thing to attain, or anybody can get a man type of thing or whatever. And a lot of women kind of live by that saying. But then when you kind of zoom out and Scion SC, I'm seeing fewer and fewer of those these days. But when you zoom out, you realize, like, damn, you're always talking to somebody. You always have a boyfriend or whatever. So what you're talking about, because you're trying to make it seem like, oh, it's no big deal, I can do better all by myself, or I'm good all by myself, or whatever. That's kind of, all these really tied together. That's just a bunch of like hogwash. You very much are like a serial monogamous and care very much about the male gaze and yada yada yada. And I remember years, again, my ex that went to school with her, she was like dating this guy or whatever. And the general gist of it was, she's like a lover girl, but kind of fashions herself like, again, unaffected. I've gone to mixers with her. There was a time about 10, 11 years ago where we were essentially going on like a lot of like, I mean, they weren't declared, but they were essentially like dates, whether it was to mixers or to, mixers or concerts together. And actually, initially, I had mentioned to her, oh, Capleton's playing at the Webster down in Hartford, da-da-da. And she just grabbed the bull by the horns like, oh, I want to go. And I was like, all right, cool, let's go. And she's like, all right, yeah, but I am seeing someone. Let me ask him first. And then that's when he invited himself. And then maybe a few days later, she's like, oh, Kay is coming as well, who, she pulled out. But I could see why she would probably think that that's like a double date or something. I don't know her rationale. And for all I know, maybe she had something else to do. But in any event, she didn't go, which it would have been a nice venue. Because if you know anything about like reggae concerts, I'd imagine, I haven't been to too many rap concerts in my adult life. I mean, when I was younger, I would go to Pearl Street sometimes, and they would have like these underground, ciphers or whatever. But I haven't been to one in my adult life. As a matter of fact, in terms of concerts, Sade aside and maybe a couple others, it's pretty much been all like dance hall or roots reggae type concerts. Well, I've been to a couple jazz concerts, and the general vibe of them is like, BYOB, not bring your own beer, but bring your own, what. Or you can just go single with the bros. And then there's a few women that will go in like their little groups too, but those aren't the type of women that you would really be interested in. They're like they're wearing a drug rug. They're, kind of like alternative lifestyle, I guess. I don't mean alternative lifestyle in terms of like LGBTQ, but it's like they're like older, or they're like, they're smoking or whatever. I'm not into potheads, and yeah, I think you know what I'm saying. Like, it's like a different type of group, like almost like a bohemian adjacent type. I can deal with anyone, but in general, I like my, educated, high class women, upwardly mobile, really, really intelligent, and then they happen to be cute or happen to be pretty. Whereas like those women are more like, it's whatever, bro, or they wear Tom's deodorant, into that earthy, crunchy, but in a weird type of way. I'm not talking necessarily even Birkenstocks or granola. It's which I guess would be like the white way stereotypically, right? And it's funny because Capleton, he was saying all of his, weird conspiratorial stuff about like, COVID and, slackness, which they're talking basically about, the gays and stuff like that. And everything going on in the world or whatever, but I'm sure he's not really talking about geopolitics per se. He's just talking about probably more LGBTQ and, the shadowy, mysterious people that are like robbing us blind and blah, 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 blah. Like, the typical, like, Rastafari type talking points, which I grew up with. My late uncle, who passed like 11 years ago, he was very deep into that, and essentially his smoking and selling was like an outgrowth of his religious standpoint. So I understand the culture and everything like that. It's just, to me, it's like a lot of nonsense, but like I get it. Everybody wants to believe in something. So long story short, it's not the place to pick up women. I was telling my homies, like, oh, maybe you'll scoop something there, you'll meet something. I'm like, no, just no. Again, people say all kinds of things, sometimes not even like nefariously, they're just kind of saying it because it's just something to say, whatever. And I'm like, I'm telling you, this is how it goes. So, and I had a good time for what it was. But I'm the type of person where I map out what, like, kind of like the upper bound of something and the lower bound of something. And it pretty much was, I don't know, maybe in the middle, closer to the lower bound, but it was more or less exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I'm like, I enjoy the Fireman. I've got his records. I still listen to him and all that, but I don't need to be there, short of, the company that I'm with, which half the company left. The other half was like kind of canoodled up. Oh, here's the other part before I sign off here, because I'm already at 22 minutes. I pretended to be just like really into the music and kind of stood away from them because, like, who wants to be all like, I'm sure they don't want me like in their armpit or whatever, but I could see her peering over, almost like sizing me up and trying to, what I was getting from it, like a kind of like a pensive feeling, both sizing me up like, all right, so what's up with Disciple? This guy's kind of weird, but I've known him for a long time. Why do I even know him? Why do I chill with him? But at the same time, I could tell, feeling kind of bad about a situation where ostensibly I was just there by myself, really, in a lot of ways, right? Because like I would every now and again touch base with them just to not be weird and say, hey, what's up, whatever. And as it turned out, I talked to him, her boyfriend, more than I talked to her, which generally ends up being par for the course whenever I'm like in a third wheel type of situation, just organically. But it's also part of the strategy, right? Because you don't want to like alienate him or make him feel like, is he trying to like, is he plotting something on the low, whatever? Like, do I even really want him around my girl? Never mind that he is like Johnny come lately and I've been there for like 30 years, but that's just how that goes, right? Guys are going to try to protect their territory, so to speak. But it was fine. Like, I'm a man of all seasons, right? So I can adapt to a lot of situations. But at some point, and again, I'm going to hit you with I can't say trite, because it's like, everyone kind of has their own version of it, but mine, I'm going to always relate it to sports if I can, particularly basketball, because I see it as sort of like an allegory for life. You remember years ago, I mean, this is as, the big three Celtics of like, '08 to like 2013 was fading, and the Heatles, LeBron, Wade, Bosh, but particularly, LBJ was busting our ass. And he was just like back cutting the hell out of Paul Pierce. That's kind of like where LeBron like learned how to play off the ball. So a lot of people that are like, well, he just dominates the ball, whatever. And I'm like, son, LeBron hasn't really dominated the ball like that outside of like when he needs to. Like, for instance, like the first round against Houston, because like that was like their best offense without Doncic and AR. But in general, he's been playing off the ball for like 10 years, more than 10 years. So anyway, he's like back cutting us, getting all kinds of oops and stuff, and plus his J was hitting, so it was just like all bad. So towards the end of the first half, Doc Rivers put Rondo on him, which, Rondo was giving up like 9 inches, to LBJ, and like 80 pounds. I mean, back in those days, Brown was playing at like 270. Matter of fact, I think he's playing probably a bit heavy now, so he's probably back up around that 270. But anyway, And then they interviewed him at the half, and I think it was Lisa Salters, and she was like, this is kind of weird. Why would you put a point guard on a 3-4? I mean, that's around when Bron started playing the 4, and they moved Bosch to the center, and they realized that that might be their best matchup, even though it's really small. And then he was like, yeah, it's not ideal, but at least I know where he is, talking about LeBron, meaning he's not going to lose. Like, Pierce he was getting a little older, so he was like sticking to the screens and stuff. And at least, he's not going to blow by Rondo. He might overpower him in the post or mid post or whatever, but he's not going to blow by him. And it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of how I live my life. Obviously I'm kind of like red pill adjacent. I'm not quite in the camp of some of these red pill yahoos. I guess 10, 15 years ago I was, but it's kind of morphed into like an alt-right, everything bad, like, ultra-capitalist, racist, misogynist type of group, and I'm not with that. But back in the day I was, and I guess you could say my ideology in a lot of ways is still kind of like somewhat adjacent to it in some ways. But my whole thing is, if I know that, again, getting back, and this will be my last thought before I sign off, if I know a time's going to be pretty lame or have like, fairly high risk, low reward, or even the standard line is just like no upside and a very narrow path to being a decent time, where it's like unnecessary exposure or danger or whatever. Like, when you go somewhere and you're like, all right, so the company's cool, I know who's going to be there, I know they're going to be receptive to me, yada, yada, yada. Now picture like more or less the opposite of that. And that's when I'm like, I'll just stay home. So, staying home, it's not going to be a rah-rah time. I know the best thing that can happen is I find that show or that movie that just hits on Netflix, or I stumble across at this point I feel like I'm at the edge of the earth on YouTube, because after a certain point you kind of create your own algorithm and echo chamber, and it ends up being a lot of the same stuff, more or less, other than events that are developing in the real world, so then they can kind of expand on them because it just happened, whether it's like the world of sports or politics or whatever. But at this point I've seen like every car build or deep dive into a transmission or motor or whatever on whatever car that I like. I still watch them, but after a while it starts to have that feeling of sameness, which I guess probably familiarity is like the best way to learn in a lot of ways. But yeah, I just stay home because at least I know everything's going to be. I know I'm going to have like a grade C+ time, but there's like zero possibility of a D or an F. Whereas you do some of these venues and it's like, there's a certain amount of dopamine. You're still like, it's people that I haven't seen before for the most part. There's always a possibility just because of the unpredictability of, different personalities coming together. So there's like that very tertiary outside possibility of like a grade A time or A+, dare I say. But in general, it's gonna be like a B- probably. But then you also have to balance that with like the money spent, gas, the effort to go out. You got to kind of put a face on for people to a certain degree. And then there's also the exposure, right? So, again, people will tell you anything. I think I had a decently pleasant interaction with her and her new boyfriend or whatever. But you never know what's really happening. Sometimes it's like, yeah, your friend's kind of lame. Like, most people with sense would have just said, I'm not going. That type of thing. But, me, I keep my word. But like a lot of people, the way I look at it, they want your word or whatever it is to be dynamic, where it's like, all right, so clearly this is just a date with me and my girl. The +1 or whoever it is, you probably turned her off some way, like, whatever rationale they make up. And like, a reasonable person would have said like, I'll catch you on the backside or whatever. But you still came. You never know, right? I didn't get that, but there's been many times where I thought I was cool with somebody, and then later on I found out that like we weren't cool. And then the funny thing about it is like people who are like around it, who know both of us, they're like, well, you did this, and this. And I'm like, no, I didn't. So anyway, I've yacked on enough. So thus ends my walk, or actually I still got like another lap. But yeah, I'm about to go get me some food and enjoy what's left of this Sunday. It's really not that late. It's probably like 8:30, but or around 9, closer to 9 by now. But yeah, that would be dusk. So hence it is dark. Now the only thing I worry about, we do have park rangers around here. Once I get to this loop right here, now there's still people. I'm going to try to make this quick. Sometimes there are bears around here and other wildlife and deer and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to make this loop quick, because knowing my luck, they'll trail me. Be like, oh, there's some not so fast food. Let me go get a bite. Anyway, the Lord is faithful, Stay with me. God bless.